Might as well play Sarcastaball if we're going to call those things.
Ah, football. God, do I love this sport. I'm actually a Philadelphia Eagles fan, so I'm pretty excited about them getting into the Super Bowl this year. However, I was talking to a guy at the old drinking bar, and he was telling me that the NFL was actually rigged now, and they were going to make it so the Chiefs win for a three-peat, and so that Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift can get married on live television, and Drake will get called those evil, evil words by Kendrick Lamar during the halftime show, and it'll be the biggest, highest ratings event of all time. So I said to that guy, wow, that sounds kind of insane. I should go look into this. And holy crap, Lois, I found something shocking. So shocking, in fact, that I wrote an entire script for this video and recorded it, and then changed my mind because I found a much more interesting angle to talk about. Because you see, the NFL isn't rigged because, of course, the NFL isn't rigged. It's just not a football league anymore. The NFL is a Sarcastaball league, and they're doing this for a very specific reason. What reason is that? Well, to understand it, we first have to understand what Sarcastaball is. And in order to do that, we have to go somewhere we've literally never been before on this channel: South Park.
I love Sarcastaball. It's so much better than football.
Season 16, episode 8 of South Park is titled Sarcastaball, and it follows Randy as he sarcastically suggests to the town of South Park that they make football safer for the kids after they're worried about how violent it is by putting on tinfoil hats, wearing bras, and hugging instead of tackling. The town doesn't pick up on Randy's sarcasm though, and instead make him the face of this new brand of football, and it goes all the way to the top, soon replacing the NFL's brand of football with Sarcastaball. Now, you might not have noticed it, but the NFL has actually accomplished this in real life, and it's taken many years, but Sarcastaball is being played specifically by one football team, despite the fact that most of the other teams don't know that's happening. And that football team is the Kansas City Chiefs. This all started way back in 2009 when the NFL, for the first time ever, admitted that, yeah, your brain might get hurt if you play some football. And over the next 3 years before this South Park episode came out, they made changes to the NFL rulebook to better protect players. The only problem was the NFL went way too fucking far. In 2009, the NFL said, okay, no more hitting defenseless receivers in the head with your initial contact, all right? And a defenseless receiver is a receiver that is not ready to be hit yet. He has to become a runner before you're allowed to hit him. So essentially, the NFL was saying, hey, defensive players, we know you like to hit people and it's your job, but why don't you wait until they're ready if they're catching a pass? Well, if we have to wait until they're fucking ready to hit them, then why don't we fucking just come up and jerk them off real quick, and that's how we'll determine if they're down. From 2009 to 2011, the NFL made a bunch of rule changes, and they fleshed out those rule changes over those next 3 years as well. A rule that started as, let's just protect wide receivers' noggins from getting hit, transformed into, let's make sure wide receivers are ready to be hit every single time they catch the football, which of course puts the offense at an advantage, it puts the defense at a major disadvantage, and worst of all, it incentivizes offensive players to act like they're weaker than they really are in order to draw penalty flags like you draw fouls in the NBA, which I think most of us, if not all of us, can agree sucks fucking balls. But for the NFL in 2009, they didn't care if the game didn't look like football anymore. They didn't care if it was unfair. They didn't care if it was lopsided. They didn't care about any of that. They just cared if it made it safer, because they got in trouble for their game not being safe. So it was all about putting that safety face forward, and they've used that to this day to transform football into Sarcastaball. It was because of rule changes like these that Trey Parker and Matt Stone made Sarcastaball. They were fed up with the NFL trivializing things and changing the game they loved into a shell of its former self that not only wasn't as fun to watch, but was also far more subjective and prone to error. The NFL tells its referees, okay, no matter what, make sure you're trying to keep our players safe, and the rules are so vague and they are so subjective most of the time, where it's like, okay, is this guy defenseless? Is this technically a catch? Is this technically offsides? Is this technically a false start? No one knows anything for certain. Their only motive is safety. And when referees see a guy get tackled, that's not safe, because football, to its core, is not a safe sport. It's not supposed to be a safe sport. It's supposed to be kind of dangerous. That's what makes it fun. You don't see people getting mad at fucking cliff divers or NASCAR racers or F1 racers when they fucking explode or anything and go, we better regulate this. Oh no, we have to do it with football because for too long people were hurting their heads and the NFL didn't say anything about it because it was football. And that's what football is. You can make little changes to make it safer, but if you make it so safety is the only core thing people care about, then someone is going to take advantage of that by pretending not to be safe. And that person's name is Butters Mahomes. Butters and Patrick Mahomes. It's both of them. I'm comparing the two. And yes, I know technically Tom Brady started this shit and they make fun of Tom Brady directly in this episode of South Park, but we're talking about how it applies today. Brady and Mahomes are both really talented quarterbacks, but they're also really, really good at whining and complaining like little baby bitches. Tom Brady got injured once and got the NFL to change the rule for how he got injured. Like, that's how good he was at whining. Don't hold it against Brady. Don't hold it against Mahomes. Hold it against the league for listening to the whiny babies. You see, Butters turns out to be a master at Sarcastaball because he has a natural aptitude for compassion, a quality that gives you a massive advantage in Sarcastaball, but not so much in actual football. But of course, every hero has their secret weapon, and for Butters, it's his creamy goo. He shares his creamy goo with his teammates and it makes them play better. He even bottles and sells his creamy goo. He becomes a celebrity because of his skill on the field and the cream in his goo. And Patrick Mahomes is no different. He guzzles goo like a pro, and just like Butters, he makes himself seem like the softest, sweetest little guy on the football field day in and day out. And Patrick Mahomes is generous when it comes to his goo. He makes sure to rub off his fair share of goo onto his fellow teammates so that they can look just as vulnerable. And in a league that is all about safety, looking like a newborn infant on the field is very advantageous, because when a 400-pound man comes at you to tackle you when you look like an infant, and he has a nickname like Chainsaw Face, and he's been known to slam people's bodies off the turf, guess what? The refs are probably going to throw a flag even if it is a legal tackle. The referee's job is to protect the players, so players are incentivized then to look unsafe so that they can get more penalty calls and get away with more bullshit. The NFL's obsession with safety has legitimately, at this point, transformed the game into Sarcastaball, at least for the pretty people. For the ugly people, you can still play football. We're looking at you, Panthers, with your terrible ass team. But still, I think on this technicality, we have to say the NFL isn't rigging anything. They're just changing the way their company handles the game of football. Instead of actually playing football, the NFL has teams play Sarcastaball. And the only team that has seemingly noticed this is the Kansas City Chiefs. And that's why they're so good at taking advantage of it. There's nothing in the NFL rulebook that says you can't bring Taylor Swift to a game so that the refs are under more pressure to give your team more calls. There's nothing in the NFL rulebook that says you're not allowed to guzzle up a bunch of goo to make yourself look really cute so that you're more inclined to get roughing the passer calls. This all might be incredibly frustrating to football fans, but for fans of the Chiefs who really don't care all that much about football and just like the color red, they're overjoyed. But I'm sure some of you are scratching your heads wondering, hey, Mr. Cow, how can you be a fan of a football team if you don't even like football? Well, I'll tell you how. You become a fucking moron. Or as I like to call it, a Taylor Swift fan. Yes, it's true. Taylor Swift does actually play a role in the downfall of football being played in the NFL. You see, Taylor Swift fans really like Taylor Swift, and they'll follow her anywhere. No matter how bad her music gets, she is their queen, and they idolize her. And so when she went over to the Kansas City Chiefs dating that fucking Neanderthal Travis Kelce, a lot of Taylor Swift fans followed. And I think the NFL noticed something. Taylor Swift fans can watch an entire football game filled with missed calls, bad plays, bad execution, and a bunch of other bullshit, and they will have a great time. And then they'll buy a jersey and a hot dog and a large soda for $45. It's no secret that the NFL's fan base is mostly crazy people like me that care way too much about football. And the problem with fans like me, or, people who actually like the game of football, is that we want to see football played. And if we see football played, well, that's not very safe. And the NFL has to focus on safety, but also They really like money. I'm sure they put 2 and 2 together that, oh my god, Taylor Swift fans are so stupid, they'll pay to watch a really bad football game filled with errors, so long as it means they're watching the same team as their favorite pop star. Meanwhile, the rest of us that really like football and want to see teams play football against each other, we're just left in the dust. Why on earth would the NFL focus on making football better when they can actually just make it worse and feed the Taylor Swift fans that show up to games just because Travis Kelce is there and he's such a hunk and he treats Taylor so right, and I wish I had a boyfriend who could split me in half. Jesus. All right, that got a little bit out of hand, a little mean, but I want to make it clear, I don't hate Chiefs fans or Patrick Mahomes or Andy Reid or any of these people. I hate what the NFL is doing to football. I hate that they are making it not about football anymore. I hate that they are taking things from the game of football and removing them or trivializing them or making them stupider or more unfair and still calling the game that they're playing football. It's not football anymore if the rules aren't the same as football. It's Sarcastaball at that point. And that's really the point of this whole video. It's not to hate on the Chiefs for taking advantage of the way the league wants the game to be played now. More power to the Chiefs. If they want to guzzle goo and make themselves look soft and squishy so that the refs treat them like babies on the field and they win based on penalties, they can do that because the league is allowing them to do that. Anyone mad about that is just mad that their team didn't think to do it first because they want to win. Because when your team's winning, it doesn't matter if they're playing Sarcastaball or football, it feels good, okay? I'm an Eagles fan. It feels good that the Eagles are winning, even though that tush-push stuff is total bullshit sometimes. Just like at the end of the Sarcastaball episode of South Park, the goal is to get back to football. It's not to win at Sarcastaball, it's to get the game back to a point where watching it is fun and enjoyable for people who like football. But that's never gonna happen because football isn't safe, and the NFL got in trouble for not being safe, so now they have to make it more like Sarcastaball. And worst yet, now the NFL knows that they can get stupid, brain-dead Taylor Swift fans to show up to a game they don't care about, to see a guy they'll never meet hang out with a woman who they idolize who has very little talent beyond making herself marketable. I don't want to live in a world where the Chiefs can get to a Super Bowl just because they whined and complained and got referees to win games for them. And if it is the world we wind up living in, I guess I'll be a hockey fan from now on. Because have you watched hockey? It's fucking awesome. They even make like porno books now about hockey and guzzling goo, but it's not for Sarcastaball. It's for like Sax, I think is what they called it. I don't know. I haven't read the whole book yet. But yeah, they guzzle goo in that one too. So if hockey doesn't wind up working for you, you Taylor Swift / Travis Kelce fans, well, last piece of advice is maybe just try watching porn like a regular fucking human being and not turning celebrities' lives into some weird fantasy where you want a jock to take you home or a cheerleader to date or whatever. I really don't fully understand it. I just know that when I see it, it grosses me the fuck out, and I wish that they would stop doing it in the Buffalo Wild Wings I'm trying to eat at. Anyways, that's the end of this video. Go Eagles. Sorry if I was too mean to you Chiefs fans, but you gotta admit, trying to watch a Chiefs game when you're not a Chiefs fan is like watching me pull my own penis off of my body. It stinks. Good night, everybody.